Okay, so I don't expect to make many videos like this, but based on last night's experience, and it's not the first time it happened, I thought I would create a short series of videos, as time goes on, which I'm going to call Rammers Rants. Now, if you didn't know, Rammers was my nickname in the military, and I just thought that kind of flowed nice and sounded good. So this is going to be episode 1 of Rammers Rants. Now, I don't rant a lot. I try not to complain a lot. I try to always, focus on the good, focus on the positive. But there are some things that do piss me off. And this is something that has happened a fair amount of times since I've been injured. And it happened last night. So I wanted to tell you guys all about it. So let me walk you through the process. So yesterday I drove from Plymouth to Bristol with Matt. We did interviews at BBC Points West on the radio, on the TV. I then dropped Matt to the train station. He went off to meet his family, and I carried on and drove up here to London, where I'm just at the minute sat in Heathrow Airport. Now, I stayed in the Premier Inn. I stay in there a lot when I come up to London, and I know the car park is always busy when I get there in the evening. Now, I was very lucky. I drove straight in, the barrier was up, car park was jam-packed, but there was one disabled space left. So I took it because I can, and I'm allowed, because I got one of these, the blue badge of justice. So I get there, and I kind of get it, because people can only really see me from here up. But I get there, I get out my car, there are cars parked on the grass, verges everywhere, the place is completely overpacked. And I'm getting my bags out the back, and obviously my head is above the roof. And then a guy from across the other side of my car came out of the hotel and says to me, "Excuse me, mate, are you coming or are you leaving?" I said, "No, I've just got here, mate." And he was an elderly gentleman. I think actually after the conversation we had, he told me he was 80 years old and he had a stick. And he came out and he said to me, "Are you coming or are you going?" I said, "Just got here, mate." And he looked at me, and he could only see this, I guess. And he said, "Well, you know that's a disabled spot, don't you? Are you disabled?" And so I very politely said, "Yes, sir, I am." And he continued to walk over towards me and got round the back of my car. I looked at me, and it was still dark, and looked down at my legs, and then did what they all do when they see it. Got flustered, panicked, flapped, and was like, "Oh, oh," and started worrying because he thought he'd offended me. And then, I don't know why, a lot of people do this, went into the talk about the Paralympics. Like, every person who's had a toe blown off is going to be a Paralympian. So anyway, he starts talking to me. I then reach into the back of my car, get my backpack out, put my prosthetic arm out, pull the strap on, and then he saw the arm as well, and he's like, "Oh, oh, oh, your arm as well." And then he starts panicking and flapping. And anyway, I was very polite to this gentleman, because I do understand they can only see here up, and from here I'm a relatively young person, so I don't look disabled. But the whole point of this is, this happens to me all the time. Right now I'm driving a Ford S-Max, all right? When I've had much nicer cars in the past, it is even worse. I've had people walk past and tut at me, people bang on my window and tell me to move my car. I've had notes left on my windscreen telling me I'm not entitled to park there. And yes, it's a bit of a rant, but really it's just an observation and a reality check, and I guess a plea to disabled people everywhere. Don't just think that because I'm not 80 years old, or anyone that's disabled isn't 80 years old and walking around with 75 crutches and wheelchairs everywhere, that we aren't disabled, less abled, and we're not entitled to use the same facilities that the older generation are, because we are. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of men and women now, much younger than I think there ever have been, that are out there living with disabilities, and I emphasize living. I mean, not locked up in their house, not shying away from the road, out there proactively living and getting the most they can of their life. So don't make us feel bad for doing that. If I didn't have to park in a disabled space, then I wouldn't, and I don't. If I don't have to, if there's another one, I think, okay, someone more needing can use it, I'll leave it open. But it was the only one that was there, and most of the time that's the case for me. If it's the only one there, I'll take it. If you know, I'm jammed in. If there's a normal space and I'm jammed in, it's a pain in the ass for me like it is now, because I've got to get a suitcase out, I've got to get a bag out, then I'll use it. But most of the time I'll try not to. But anyway, going back to what I said, don't just think that because from here up we don't look disabled necessarily, you know, that we're not, and that we're not entitled. Anyway, rant over. I laugh and I joke and I talk about this all the time, but I thought, you know, now with this whole thing where we're going bigger on social media, I'll put a video out there and let you know my thoughts. I'm now about to jump on a plane and head to Berlin to go and speak to Connect 365. I will check in with you guys later.